Welcome to the Cool Fireman Podcast, a virtual firehouse kitchen table with Matt, Adam, Brian, Doug, and Freddie, where they discuss everything that matters in today's fire service. Now let's get to the show.
That's good. It's real good. So I ate some leftover steak tonight.
Yeah?
It was actually a funny story. So when I got home, I had an appointment out, and my wife and I, we were going to make a chicken Caesar pasta salad. You've probably seen it on TikTok or Instagram or whatever. Mm-hmm. And my kids went fishing with their papa. And so I'm in there and I'm just cooking and everything. And then they come walking in with Jersey Mike subs. Mm. So I was like, oh, okay. So let's back up and punt. And then I think I've told you, usually 2 nights a week, we eat over at my in-laws. Mm-hmm. And so I called my mother-in-law over. She was sitting outside because it's fake fall. I don't know if you saw on Facebook, I posted this morning that his fake fall episode 1.
It was quite delightful today.
It was very, very delightful. So I invited her over and I said, hey, look, I'm grilling up all this chicken. I had this big salad bowl. So why don't we just save this for tomorrow night? You don't even have to cook, and I'll just eat leftovers. But I made a steak sandwich over the weekend using that Mesquite Country beef that I get from my TikTok channel. Phenomenal. So I ended up having that leftover. So it's pretty good. Do you eat good tonight?
I haven't eaten today.
I haven't eaten today. I love that. You're like, I have twins, Brian. That's what I have.
Well, I had a handful of pepperoni slices so far today. I'm actually waiting for us to, when we get done with this, I'm going to go
do that.
Find something to eat. So
that's been the story of my life here lately. I don't know about you, but that's been the story of my life.
Just a busy day.
And you're off. Isn't that crazy? Like you're off, but you're busy.
Yes.
Nonstop.
It is.
Nonstop.
The girls had, they were at daycare today. So it was our free day, but we got them in there this morning, and then we went open up their bank accounts because we gotta try their savings and stuff. We've been putting it off for the past year, so we finally got all that paperwork done, and then I came home and just started working on, side business things here and there, try to get ready for this weekend. So it's just, it's been a lot. And then tomorrow, the wife and the kids and my father-in-law, they're all going, my son, they're all going to Busch Gardens in Williamsburg. And I'm staying home with the twins. So
nice.
So I'm trying to get last minute stuff done before leaving early Friday morning.
The craziness that is right before school, right?
Yes.
So thank y'all for listening. This is the Cool Fireman Podcast. I'd say what episode it is, but I have no idea. But we're obviously still in season 1 because we haven't switched. A little jab to Matt there as he edits this.
Yes.
And so we're just talking about the craziness of life. Drop a comment. Let us know what is the craziness in the season that you're in right now in life. And welcome to the Firehouse Kitchen Table. I am Brian Kelly.
Sorry.
Go ahead. I was just going to say.
That is welcome. Brian Kelly.
Brian Kelly from East Coast Kellys, and you got Unkies. We had planned on 4 out of the 5 tonight, and the reason why we were talking about the craziness of it is because Freddie was supposed to be here, Doug was supposed to be here. It's almost 10 o'clock at night, and life happens. And so we're going tag team tonight. Matt just got home after being gone for so long. So believe it or not, all 5 of us were. You talk about craziness. All 5 of us were off and ready to record, except for Matt. But still, to get all 5 of us off on one night, and still at 10 o'clock at night, we could not seem to make it work. So, but we're so happy that you decided to listen to us on this week's episode. We're going to be talking about radio communications. And Adam and I were just chit-chatting before the show and said, hey, what is something that we can discuss that's very different? And we've had some things happen here recently, just in our communities about automatic aid agreements and just communication frameworks and stuff. And so I decided that would kind of be a good thing to discuss, and it would kind of give us a quicker podcast. We've gone long the last couple of episodes, so I'm sure folks are probably like, hey, I'd like to listen to a short episode. So again, drop a comment. Let us know what is on in your life right now that is crazy. And then we'll save it at the end kind of for a teaser. Tell us how you talk on the radio. So how we're going to start this off is we're going to talk about how we're dispatched, how we receive information. So I'll go first. We have on our municipal side, we have a police-run dispatch center. And so the police, if you will, it's a public safety system side of it, but our PD oversees, if you will, that side of it. We EFD fire calls, and then the county listens in on medical calls. So as soon as you say difficulty breathing, blah, 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 then we'll pick up and we'll dispatch for our medical first responder. On the county side, all calls are ran through an independent emergency services dispatch center. So it's not fire, it's not police, it's not law that's running it. It's an emergency services division. And so all of those are EPD'd, emergency police dispatch. I think I said that right. EFD'd or EMD'd based off of the type of incident it is. So Jimmy's beating me, you go to EPD. Mama's having a heart attack, you're EMD'd. My house is burning, you're EFD'd. And all of those, no matter whether it's in the municipality or on the county side, do what's called priority dispatch. So as soon as you give key information, your address, your nature code, whatever, those calls drop. And based off of how we have, I say we the fire service, we emergency services in the county have those set up, those predetermined protocols drop the type of response that we have. I, through my experience, have found that there's a lot of counties that don't do that. You get a primary response, and then you have to ask for it. And that's a whole nother conversation for ISO for those states that have those kind of scenarios, because you don't get full ISO credit on first alarm for structure fires, and that can be problematic. So before we get into the weeds of that, Adam, how do y'all do it on the DoD world?
Yeah, we got a fire and police. We all answer to our public safety director. And then the DoD, we have a military person, this person that's still in the military, and a civilian counterpart. And they're equally side by side. They're in charge of the dispatchers, the police, and firing EMS. Let's see. In my area, our dispatch center is located in Norfolk, Virginia, and they oversee the state of Virginia all the way to Maine. As far as north as Maine, and as far as west as Indiana. So if you're in, we'll say Crane, Indiana is a base out there, and if you call the dispatcher, you're talking to somebody in Norfolk, Virginia, and then that person, yes. So
that's wild.
We got, I want to say 9. We call them districts, or you can call them battalions, and a lot of cities call them battalions. So we got 9 of them, and there's north, northeast. They'll be on, your radios have channel A, B, and C. For us, we're on channel A. Then I guess the guys north of us are on B, and the guys west of us are on C. So we can actually sit in Norfolk and listen to everybody else if we wanted to.
Indiana? Y'all can listen all the way to Indiana?
Yep, because everything's pretty much run by satellites and the DoD.
I got you.
There's a lot of learning curves we went to about a couple of years ago. People were giving landmarks out. You're used to talking to somebody that's on that base. So
right
when they gave landmarks out, they had no idea what base that person was on, because there'll be multiple bases nearby, and they had PD go out for 45 minutes looking for somebody that was having chest pains, or even telling the fire department.
Can I ask a question about the base? Yeah. So, when you get a fire alarm on the base, because everything's sprinkled and everything has a fire alarm, at least that's the way our bases around here have. Yes. And I'm assuming that that's the same way it is there. So when you get that, are those alarms being transferred from Indiana straight to Norfolk or Norfolk? I have to say that correctly. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to shame you.
Norfolk.
So When it comes through from Indiana to Norfolk, it's coming in as that. So if it's building 578 in Indiana, it's coming to that location and it's being dispatched as building 578.
Yes, that's correct.
So the person who wants to know the landmark, they can't say, well, building 5. You would know in Indiana that's the commanders or building 1 or whatever. That's the base, command center. But the person in Norfolk doesn't know what it is.
Exactly. Like, I forgot what the landmarks were. They're like, it's the parking lot by the piers, the one with the big white building, something like that. Well,
I got you. Yeah.
And we're all, there's a lot of Navy bases. They all have piers, even Army bases.
Right.
So,
right.
Like even in Indiana, somebody pulls a fire alarm. It goes, all of our bases, it'll go to our local dispatch office. It's on your base. Then it's transmitted from there to the city of Norfolk, to the base in Norfolk. Then they'll dispatch it out. So, and you can call it in, give them the information. They'll know. I don't know how they decipher. I never really called our emergency line and decipher what base you were on.
Because you are 911, Adam. You don't have to know how to do that. So here's the. Go ahead. I was just going to ask the second part of that. I was going to have you lead into it. So for the second part of that, once the alarm is received and they validate, hey, it's a fire alarm. I know our bases around here, the station alerting is they have a ring down phone, basically a phone in the firehouse rings, and the captain answers it and says, hey, we got a job, whatever. Is that how it works for you guys, or do you actually have a station alerting system that alerts you and someone comes across? And
yes and yes.
Yeah, explain it.
Yes and yes. We get dispatched, like I like to say, like the city folks. They'll do the station alert tones, and then we have a live person talking. We don't have a computer. So a live person will talk. Give us the basics of it. Building 1, 2, 3. You got a medical. They get very vague if it's a medical emergency, and they'll assign you a TAC channel. And when they get on that TAC channel, they'll go more into details. And we also have, we call them crash phones, because the fire stations that sit on airfields, they have the big red phone like you see Batman with. Adam West had it. A loud buzzer, loud alarm will go off, and it's a direct line between. You hear other people pick up the phone. All the phones are alive as the tower talking.
Like it was when you were growing up and you were talking to your girlfriend and your mama picked up. Oh, yeah. Snap.
Yeah. The tower, as soon as they pick up the phone, it goes off at that fire station, and the dispatcher and somewhere else. I feel like the commander of the bases. So they pick it up and they listen to all the clicks. Once they got all the clicks, they'll go ahead and start announcing, we have an inbound aircraft, blah, 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 blah. And everybody in the station already hears the alarm go off. So they're always already going to their trucks. And here's the unlucky one answering the phone. It's got to listen to it and yell in the PA system what's going on, and then run out to their truck. So we do have the big red phone for that, but everything else is just like a normal dispatch.
So just to clarify my statement, the bases around here, they have a regular dispatcher during the day. And then I think I was checking myself. I think the ring down phone is only for nighttime. They get that phone call in the middle of the night. So I just want to clarify that for my guys that may be listening on the base. Ours is in order for that EFD or that EMD to overlap, on the municipal side, we have Samantha system, so a computerized system. So fire alarm, this location, blah, 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 blah. And it gives that automated pre-recorded system. And then by the time the units are checking en route, so that 60 to 90 second, depending on the nature code, then that dispatcher will give some more information. You're being dispatched to a 40-year-old male, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And so that's what's done. And then they're moved to a tactical channel. And the tactical channel is really dependent upon if it's a solo response, solo being solo by themselves. They're given a tactical channel, meaning if it's a fire only, so you're going to a dumpster fire, wood fire, it's a solo agency. They go to a TAC channel. If it's an EMS call, again, I think y'all have heard me say this before on the podcast, we run with a county EMS. So it then gets an event channel, and we have TAC and events. And the events are given because those are multi-agency responses. So think tactical is tactical. It's for your own self. An event is where you have multiple agencies coming. So we give an event channel. And again, going back to that dispatch, we can give information. And then we have I love this. We have accountability systems built in. So if you're not giving on a working fire, when you arrive on scene, if you say, "Hey, I got a working fire," then certain things automatically happen. Me as a fire investigation unit, FIU unit, when you declare a working fire, our phones ring automatically. And so we're going to get a phone call at 2:00 in the morning. Every member of the fire investigation unit gets a phone call. Most of us, when we are off, except for me as a battalion chief, they turn their phones off, their work phones, because they just don't want to get that call until, and I don't blame them. But when they're on call, they leave it on. But out in the county, going back to that, it is a straight voice and that's it. So they're getting it, and they have call takers that are dedicated for that. So I would assume for those bases, you guys have dedicated call takers as well.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yes.
And then you have dispatchers.
Yes.
We have a couple of counties around us. I want to go back and say this. We have a couple of counties around us that are similar to you that, they don't, I don't want to say have the money, but they have chose to contract with another county to do their dispatching and their services for them. A lot of our counties have their own dispatch centers, but
yeah.
I know a couple in the state that they dispatch for other counties. They don't. I mean, when they run the numbers, they're like, "Hey, I'll let you hire 2 or 3 extra people, and you can just dispatch law and fire and everything else because
you already got the system set up. You know how to train the people. You know how to run everything. Yeah. Here's our frequencies." I mean, that's it.
It seems to work. They can just add the channel.
Do you like the computer voice, or you rather have a person on the main dispatch channel or the dispatch?
Yes. Yeah, I do. And, I was started in an era where it was a regular voice, and we had a alerting system. And let me go back and say the alerting system is smart enough to where it will dispatch only the station, and the station alerting will only dispatch the station that's being dispatched. And it's pretty cool because this system also has a computer screen that the call information scrolls across, and it has a ticker. So if you're the captain, you will know what your turnout is. So they're held to a 60 second on medical and a 90 on structure. And that's from the time of dispatch. So and we have different pre-alert tones for different nature codes. So before anything is said, before Samantha, who's the lady's voice, before she even says anything, you will know the nature code of what it is. You'll know that it's EMS, you know that it's a fire, you know that it's an entrapment, you know that it's a structure fire. All of those have different tones. And it's pretty neat to listen to it. And the app on my phone even plays those different sounds based off of the different nature codes. So for me as a BC, she doesn't talk, but the app on my phone, if I'm on call and I'm in a meeting, I can ignore the EMS call. I can ignore the fire alarm, right? But if I'm in that meeting and I hear a structure fire drop, I don't have to carry my radio. Let me rephrase that. I'll carry my radio, but I don't have it blaring if I'm in a meeting. At City Hall or, different people. But if I see that structure fire drop, I can glance at it and be like, oh, snap, I know that's a commercial structure or that's a residential structure. And then I can turn it on and kind of monitor it. So that part of it's really cool. The second part of that, what I really like about it is when I was riding the truck and I was at the station, number one is I love the fact that not all stations go off. And this was back when we maybe had 5 to 6 calls a day. Now those guys are running 15 to 20 a day. And when that thing went off in the middle of the night, it sounded like a turkey gobbler. It was like, and it was like, it rattled the bunk rooms, and it was like, it would shake the dead, and it would be like way across on the other side of the city. And it was for, Grandma Jones, who had too much gravy at 2:00 in the morning. Yeah. And it was like, why am I waking up for this? Yeah. So that, I think, from a morale perspective is huge for our first responders, especially when we talk about fatigue and we talk about retention. That's something that if a chief can budget for and create a system for, that's really good. The other part about that is you're guaranteed to get, what you're going to get if you were a driver. So when I left shift work and went to the fire marshal's office, I was a driver. And the one thing that I hated, this was pre-Samantha, pre-automated, was inconsistent information at dispatch. Right? So as a driver, you're first up, right? I say you're first up. The captain can go over and look at their MDT, or they can call on the radio and get information. But for you on the driver, you're first out the gate. You are stepping up to the plate right out the gate. I say right out the gate. Everybody's up. If your guys aren't on the truck fast or whatever, that's another. I know that's up for debate, and people would argue that. But in my mind, it was, I have to know where I'm going, no matter how fast everybody else is, and I have to know what I'm being dispatched to. So, and I would say everybody else on the truck needs to know that too. But for me, I felt like that was. And I would just have inconsistencies in dispatching. And at least with this, I felt like I was getting, every time I was getting the nature code and the address that got me out the door, and then the captain could fill in the blanks via other ways. And, if we got it, we got it. We'd figure it out when we got there, kind of thing. Yeah. And so that was pretty good. How about you guys? What do you feel like you get or don't get, I should say?
We don't have MDTs. We run with the city. In my station, we threw them out because we've been out of service with the city for a couple of years, have run cards. And these run cards were never updated since like 2002. So just little business cards, and read them. We use our phones for directions, but there's a map for our base. We know pretty much where everything is. Everything's kind of categorized. We actually got a map on our phone. We can type it in the building number, and we'll populate. We can get directions to it if we need it. But everybody pretty much knows where everything's on base. They're talking about the ring down stuff. All right. So when we get toned out, if you're, I don't know, probably if you have a blockage in your heart about 75%, you will have a heart attack. It is deafening loud. The lights come flickering on. Yeah. Boom. And I'm right beside the panel, the electrical room. So I hear it go, boom. And the lights come on, the tones.
It's like it throws a breaker, right?
Yeah, yeah. Just throws a breaker in my room, which is fine by me. That and the light is enough to wake me up. But then it's the heart attack inducing tones, loud as can be, because nobody knows how to read the little knobs where it says, dispatch volume, this. They just turn the whole master amplifier up, which turns everything
Why
up.
not?
Yeah, and then it's just so, it's horrible. So, but that's it. We have a human voice on it.
I love it.
I love the computerized one because the city, we have our neighboring city, Virginia Beach, they have their engine company in our firehouse. So we have one federal, one civilian truck in there. And they use the G2 Phoenix app and stuff like that.
Yeah,
they have had the lady talking, and I love it because she's so nice and polite, and you understand everything. You don't have nobody with an accent or anything like that interfering with the initial dispatch. Because at least get me on the road, I can fill it in later. If I can't understand you on TAC channel, as long as you can hear me to check the time box. When I first started, we had printers, the ring down printers. I missed that. I'll be sitting there at 5 o'clock, Station 2, City of Chesapeake, sitting down eating. And at 5 o'clock, we start eating. 5:01, you hear, I'm just shoveling food in. Because we're one of the busiest houses in the city. Because like during the day, the ladder truck, we were the busiest ladder truck out of all 3 shifts in the city. We'd be gone all day. You'd be lucky you grab breakfast, but you'd be back by dinner time. But after 1 o'clock in the morning, you're gone again. But the engine, so it was like always swapping. The engine would be gone for hours. So I'm sitting there shoving food. My lieutenant was like, "Hey man, hey, just calm down. It might not be for us." And one person walks in there and he yells out, medic only. We're like, "Oh, okay." Started eating a little bit more, and then our ring down would come, and we'd be gone for 6-7 hours. I'm like, "You didn't take one bite." I shoveled my food down as soon as I heard it, but I liked it because everything came out. Yeah, 2 sheets of paper because it was whoever, like it was a medical call. The ambulance took the top cover. They can read it, and then the engine would take the crappy copy of it. And so, in case they got separated leaving the station, they knew where they were going. And it gave you all the information, especially if people signed up with a dispatcher, saying that, Grandpa Joe, he has this problem, that problem, medication is located here, this, that, and the code to get into the house is this. It was fantastic. And I assume all that stuff's on your MDTs now. But I just missed that trigger of the printer going off. And that gave you a good, I don't know, a couple seconds, like 5 seconds before the tones went off.
Yeah.
Get ready. Like,
ours would go off. Ours would print at the same time. So by the time we would get up and out the door, we didn't have a dot matrix printer. We had a laser jet. But ours would be, basically the same thing. But we would only have 1 copy, but no one ever grabbed it. Like, we'd come back and we were like, it would be what the captain, before we had our CAD integration, I say CAD integration, like before our CAD would drop it into our incident reports, back when we first started on the green screen, the captains would take that and then that's what they would call dispatch and then write in the rest of the information. What was our unit times, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And
that's what they got started with. It would give them the report number and stuff. But other than that, I mean, that was it. I want to ask a question about DOD. And since you said units run out of the same house, what is your delay time between dispatch centers? Do you have CAD to CAD for dispatching? Meaning if a call drops off the base and you go automatic aid, does it automatically drop, or does one dispatch center have to call the other dispatch center to basically give a 911 call?
They have the connection, one, to the city's able to come on to our frequency and talk to our dispatcher and to request, "Hey, I got this going on at your base. Can you handle it?" But all of our mutual aids, all the stations that run with the city has come in and put a alert system in there. So,
oh wow,
yeah.
So they dispatch you.
Yes, the city will automatically dispatch us, and we have to tell them, I think Norfolk doesn't do it. But we have to call and tell them we're in service or out of service. So when they do roll call, at least at my station, they've never hit our tones. So we always miss their roll call. And so they would just call us on the phone, be like, "Hey, you missed a roll call. Are you in service, out of service?" And we would tell them. And our tones will go, they alert us if need be. But
Well,
yeah,
I
it's
guess
all
that's
automatic.
what I'm wondering because, well, let's go back because that's what I'm wondering. So if you go on a medical call and then a structure fire drops, how does the city know that?
Okay, so you're saying like I'm in service with them, but I got in such a hurry and I went on a base call.
Yeah.
And so, at least when I started, we were always told
I mean,
to,
it's like Virginia Beach is going, hello,
yeah.
hello, are you there?
Oh,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. I know some horrible stories I'll tell you this weekend. At least one of them.
Okay.
But back when I started, they were always told me if you get a base call, go out of service with the city.
I
And
got you.
a lot of times it would be, like a box alarm will go off. We only send 2 engines. You're the second one. A lot of times the guys will stay in service and they'll break off. Be like, you sure you don't need us? We got a call we're going to go to. And like the naval base, they had 2 mutual aid trucks, one on each side of the base. It's a huge base. So you're supposed to, when I first got there, if truck 1 went out to the city, I mean, you're truck 2, you had to go out of service. You had to go out. So you couldn't have both trucks out in the city. Things have changed now. But pretty much everybody stays in service and so that they don't mess up and go out of service. And yeah, it's,
Wow.
yeah,
So
and but they monitor it. They don't, if they're in service, and they're out and about, even on a call, they're monitoring the city channel unless they are committed, like a working fire or something they can't leave.
yeah,
Like a bigger incident, they're going to be there more than a certain amount of time. They'll go out of service to the city.
sure.
Did I answer that question? Was there another part to that
You
question?
did. You did. No. You did. And the way I was going to, the way I wanted to end this podcast, and I unplugged, and then I woke up, and it was great. And so, the way I kind of wanted to end the podcast, because we said this was going to be a shorter one. So I wanted to, before we go to housekeeping, what I wanted to do was I wanted to talk about, and I think I know the answer for the DoD based off of how you just said this, was you guys are dispatched based off of units, based off of protocol, right? So
Yes.
they're going to dispatch an engine, a ladder, a rescue, whatever. The same is the same as the same is the same. The same is the same for me. I said it again. It's the same way for me in my municipal department that it is for you on DoD. But in the VFD world, they dispatch a station, and depending on how you run your department internally, they don't dispatch an engine. So when they say station, 2 or station, 57 or station 9, what they're doing is they're just giving you the nature code, and then your own internal policies dictate the unit that you respond with. They're not dictating that. And of course, all those units are in CAD,
Yeah.
but in my VFD's experience, you kind of just dictate your own protocol, I guess is the best way that is in my county. Now, surrounding counties, they may say, XYZ fire, engine 3, respond to motor vehicle collision, blah, 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 blah. So I don't think that's a standard protocol for VFDs, right? It's not a jab at volunteers versus paid. It's just how we do things. And I think that's the reason why I wanted the folks to drop a comment and let us know how that they do it. Do they dispatch with, I saw your hand raise. Do they dispatch with, people? Do they dispatch with automatic aid in mind? Do they dispatch unit specific? Because I think it is so unique all across. We're looking at automatic aid where the CAD to CAD drops and there's no need to check people out of service. So what you're talking about you having to do is the 2 CADs will talk to each other. And if our engine 3 is on a call and it's going to run automatic aid with whoever, city,
that
county,
city sees them as
base,
busy.
whatever. It sees it as busy, and nobody has to remember to do any of that.
No sense.
Let technology be smart enough to do that, and those 2 systems talk.
The second part of your question was, I told you how we stay in service. So the surrounding cities, they do roll call. we don't do roll call because most of us are all coming from the same station. But the city will do roll call, go through down the list, and now they'll call you, DOD, engine one, they'll call us, and if we don't answer it to dispatcher, she'll tell the battalion. Sometimes some cities battalions do the roll call, and they'll wait, give us a little time, and they'll start calling you. And if they don't get you, you don't respond by the second time, they're already reporting you to dispatch. So like, go ahead, send me another truck.
Mm.
So I know the city of Norfolk, they don't play around. They'll go ahead and say, send me another truck. And if you pop up on that radio, after he said that, he'll tell you, going back to the base. You weren't quick enough for him.
Wow.
The city of Virginia Beach, we're extra. So they, for the most part, they won't ask for another engine. So like, house fire, you don't send 3 engines. Well, they're sending their 3 engines, and then our truck is the 4th. So we don't key up or whatever. They're like, yeah, whatever.
And I think that's very common. Yeah, that's very common for a lot of departments for ISO, because, and this is a whole another podcast.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, you know what? Put a pin in that. We'll have that conversation later, because I think some people take that personal, but it's really not. It's all strategic. And if your base, if your base, I'm just going to say this, DOD is not an ISO inspected department, right? You don't have to be. You're self-insured. So you sprinkle everything, you put everything on an alarm. However, when you look at departments who are graded and are accredited, I'm not saying that any of those are accredited. I don't know if they are, but you have to have what's called an effective response force, that ERF, right? And I don't know what your knowledge is of those. Again, that's why I said it's for another podcast. But they have to guarantee a certain amount of people on first alarm on that scene, and then anything beyond that is gravy. And by doing that, if they don't have people because their units are tied up, i.e. they are on a medical call or they're on a first alarm, then you are the extra to fill their bucket when they can't fill their bucket. But a lot of those larger departments, they're just going to call another station, and you're still the extra gravy, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, but like departments like mine that, don't have that big of a force, you pull 1 or 2 and wow, you've hit our ERF pretty hard. You're gravy, but you're actually part of the ERF at that point. We're not pulling other ones. Like Big City Doug, he's like, I'm just going to pull another station. That one's out of service. I'm going to call the next one. They may be a little further out, but they're good. So, I think this was good. This really was a good topic to have. And I think it helped, a lot of things. So housekeeping, 2 years ago, I want to reminisce. You sent me a text earlier today. 2 years ago today, what was it?
It was me and Brian's first date at Good Clucking Chicken or something like that.
I don't remember the name of the place. But it was the first time Adam and I actually met face to face, not too far from here. He made a trip, him and his lovely bride Elizabeth, down to the beach, and we got to meet. But the reason why I bring that up, not only because we shared in that intimate moment, our, as my wife calls it, the bromance,
the blazing bird,
the blazing bird. Yes, that's what was the name of it. But this weekend, Adam kind of hinted around to it. Myself, Adam, and Matt will be doing our class in Leland, North Carolina, and we'll be talking as part of the podcast. So wish us luck. I shouldn't say wish us luck, but this podcast will launch on Friday, and so by the time you listen to this, wheels will be in motion, and we will be prepping for actually we're already prepping for the class, but we will be traveling to go to the class, and Adam's going to be on a little tour. I want him to talk about that real quick. And and then we'll be getting together again as kind of a mini podcast, and we'll be recording podcasts. We've talked about that with guests. So last week or 2 weeks ago, we recorded podcasts. This weekend, we're going to be recording podcasts, and we're going to be sprinkling those in throughout the next couple of months with very special guests, and we're super stoked about that because we got the holidays coming up, right? And so we're going to need to take time with our family and everything else. So before we talk about, well, why don't you go ahead and talk about your tour, and then we'll do the moment of silence.
Excuse me. So, yeah, all day Friday, if you're listening to when this comes out, I'll be traveling from Virginia down to North Carolina in the southeast corner, from Wilmington, from Greensboro all the way down to Wilmington. Right? Did I say it right?
Yes.
Okay. So that whole corridor, Wallace, I'll be traveling. If you're interested or you live in that area on that Friday, just follow me on social media. I'll be posting pictures, kind of visiting all the stores that are the Unkie season is already in, and some other stops. So this is going to be a long day, a very long day.
It's the Show the Love tour, right? Isn't that what we said we were going to do? Show the love.
Show the love. I called it Catch Me If You Can.
Catch you if you can.
Yeah.
I like Show the Love.
I am going to show the love. I'm going to show the love. So, alrighty.
So we're super stoked about that. And like I said, then we'll be doing the little visit and everything else. So line of duty deaths. We want to take a moment to do a moment of silence for anyone that was lost this past week. I'm sure there was. Our hearts go out to any of those. So let's take just a moment for that. Amen. So if anybody wants to have us come and visit and talk or engage with you, we can do that virtually. We can do that in person. Please let us know. We are available for booking arrangements. You can just email us at thecoolfireman@gmail.com. Check us out on thecoolfireman.com. Also, we are sponsored by Unkie Seasoning and The Burn Box. We've also got some other sponsors in the works, so please check us out. And if you're interested in being a sponsor, you can email us at those other socials as well, or check us out, and we'll be more than happy to do that. So, Adam, since you're not the host, I guess tonight you get to do the outro.
Okay. Roll it, Gigi.
Roll it, Gigi.
Before you leave, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and give these firemen a huge thumbs up. Also, make sure you check out thecoolfireman.com for more. Thanks!